Hey guys. So recently there's been this sort of trend going around in the machine community of not recording machines in one continuous shot. And I'm just gonna say it. I don't like it. Most of you guys have probably noticed this as well, but in case you haven't, three of the most recent examples of machines that were not filmed in one continuous shot are the Invention11's goal-scoring machine, Burlag Awesome's craziest soda machine ever, and eVoltage's Super Bowl prediction machine. There are many reasons why I don't like the idea of recording a machine in different shots in a screen-linked kind of way, but I'm not going to go into that here because I'll be talking about it in a lot more detail in an upcoming episode of DomiNews on Stick Trick Domino Dude's channel, so keep an eye out for that coming out in the near future. But what I am going to do is address one of the main reasons that I've heard machine builders consistently give for making the decision to not show their machines in one continuous take in their videos. And that main reason is they want to show their machines up closer or in better detail than would be possible with a single continuous shot, with the hope that viewers could understand that part of the machine a little bit better. And yes, I do realize that this is not the main reason that one of the builders that I mentioned at the beginning of this video chose to screen link their machine. But for the other two builders, they chose to film their machines in separate shots because they didn't think their machine would be clearly understood from a single continuous take. And of course, this is a legitimate concern. It's obviously important that the viewer understand what's going on, or else it's severely going to decrease how much they enjoy watching it. But at the same time, I think there is a way to get the best of both worlds. And that is what I hope to accomplish with this video. As you guys probably already know, all of my machines have always been recorded in one continuous take. It's just the way I've always done things. It's the way that I think is the right way. And the way I see it, I think there are a lot of people out there, including the people who don't record their machines in one continuous take, who agree with me and think that that is probably a better way to record a machine. And they just can't because they think that people won't understand their machines as well. So that's where this video comes in. In this video, I'll be teaching you guys a little bit about how I record my machines, using the Super Bowl machine in the background as an example, so that hopefully you can use my techniques and apply them to your own machines so that you can record your machines in better detail and closer up so that people can still understand your machines and you can show them in one continuous shot. Let's get started. Lesson 1. Close, medium, and wide. There are three main types of shots that I like to think about when recording a machine. A close-up shot, a medium shot, and then a wide shot. Let's start off with a close-up shot. The reason a close-up shot is important is for one very simple reason. You should never use it. Usually I see this a little bit more often in amateur beginner builders than I do in more experienced builders, but it's still something that we can all learn from. Just so that you guys can get an understanding of what I'm talking about here, here is what my Super Bowl machine would look like recorded in just close-up shots. Not so great, huh? And also maybe a little bit exaggerated, but at least you kind of understand what I'm talking about now. So there are three main reasons why close-up shots are bad. The first is that because the frame is so small, it's very easy to lose track of the motion and have whatever object that's moving at the time exit the frame. For even a split second, this can still be very disorienting to the viewer. The second reason is that sometimes there's more than one thing that's going on in a machine at once. In fact, it's not all that uncommon at all. And when this happens, if you're filming too closely, you won't be able to get both of those things on camera at once. And the third reason is kind of a weird one, but just as equally important as the other two in my opinion. If you film a machine using just close-up shots, it doesn't give the viewer an opportunity to be able to picture what the machine looks like as a whole. In addition to seeing each of the individual tricks, I personally, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, like to see how the overall action of the machine flows throughout the machine itself. If you don't quite get what I'm saying there, picture Toothpaste 35's machines. Now imagine if they were filmed in just one close-up shot. It would be almost impossible to understand that his machines go from left to right, and then back to the left, and then back to the right again, and that they basically overlap themselves by having the overall action of the machine travel to parts that it has already been through. In addition to the very interesting and complicated tricks contained in the machine itself, the pattern of the overall flow of action throughout the machine is also very impressive. And because of the way that he films his machines, I'm able to appreciate that. And sometimes this is hard for builders to realize, because they can obviously see their entire machine as a whole. They know what it looks like. So it's sometimes difficult to figure out whether that comes across on camera. But there's an easy way to make sure that it does, which leads me to my next point. So, we've talked about close-up shots, but what about medium and wide shots? Well, we'll go into a little bit more detail about this in Lesson 2, but for now, just know that a medium shot looks like this, and a wide shot looks like this. As you can tell, a wide shot is a large camera angle, and it's used for containing a lot of action within the frame, such as a shoebox falling over. A medium shot is somewhere between a close-up and a wide, and it's used for smaller tricks such as a spinning track. Alright, that's it for Lesson 1. Moving on to Lesson 2, planning your filming. Personally, I think this is the most important lesson of all, and it basically just says that you should plan out how you're going to film and where you're going to film from before you even start the filming process. Let me show you what I mean using the Super Bowl machine behind me as an example. This is the ball that starts the whole machine. And right next to it is the cardboard cutout of Cam Newton, which is kind of the focal point of the beginning of the machine. But I always like to start my machines with a wide shot of the entire thing, for the reasons we discussed earlier. So I'm probably going to start back here somewhere with a shot of the entire machine, and then come in close to a shot here, and then a shot here of me placing the ball in the track. So the first section of the machine is this part with the piston, and it's a fairly small scale trick, so I can probably get away with a lot of medium shots here. So it starts with this domino here, but if I'm going to be here, I need to be at a slightly lower angle so that you can still see it from behind the track. And also, since this ball is going to be rolling down this way, a good vantage point should be about here so that you can see that well. And as long as I get a wide enough shot so that you can see the entire rotation of the piston, that should be pretty good. This next part is where it gets a little bit trickier. There's a domino here that falls off the table and releases this connects lever, allowing these cars to roll to the end of the track. But it also releases this yellow motorized train here. So I realize that these cars are going to get to the end of their track long before this train is going to get to the end of its track. So a wide shot isn't really necessary to catch both of those things in action at the same time. I can simply focus on these until they get to the end of their track, and then direct my attention back to the train just in time to see it fall off the table. Believe it or not, this machine only gets more complicated from here. But all that means is that we need to figure out the best way to film it so that it is easily understood in the final video. So this motorized train here is going to fall off the table, and the weight of it is going to pull the shoebox into a downward position. Now that is a very large action, so we need a wide shot so that you can see that. But also, it's attached to a string that pulls off this domino, which releases this green ball. So my wide shot needs to be wide enough so that you can see that as well. So the next part of this machine involves the green ball rolling down and hitting this domino. This domino releases the football, which rolls into the shoebox. But it also is attached to this string, which goes through here and releases this marble, which, by the way, gets caught behind the connects lever when the box is flipped down. But if you watch the final video, you don't really see that. And this is kind of a tough decision, because I had to decide out of the two things that happen at the same time, which one to focus on. And since the football is a much more exciting action, I decided to focus on that rather than the simple action of a marble being released. And since the football is a large object that's moving, I'm going to maintain my wide shot so that you can see that very easily. But I'm going to transition back to a medium shot when it hits the lever and releases the marble down this track. So I think you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about for how to plan out your machine. But anyway, the rest of this machine is basically just an assortment of medium angle shots, since it's all pretty much small action. But I am very sure that I memorize how to move around the machine so that I can get every part of it from the best possible angle. And I'm also sure to memorize how the machine goes off so that I know what every domino releases and when it gets released. The way I worded that, it made it sound a little bit more complicated than it really is, and to be honest, I kind of over-explained it so you could get what I'm talking about, but in reality, it doesn't have to be that difficult. Basically, all you really need to do is just take a look at the machine and then pick out which kind of shots would work best for each part of the machine, and then figure out where you're going to film from to get the best possible angle so that people can see and understand that part of the machine. And then once you've done that, the only thing left to do is memorize that sequence of shots so that when it comes time to set off the machine for the final video, you'll know exactly how to film each part of it and you'll be prepared. Planning out how you're going to film will also help the camera movements to be a lot smoother, and therefore more professional. In addition to figuring out what kind of shots are best for which part of the machine, it's also just as important, if not more important, to figure out where you're going to move throughout the machine. Let me show you what I mean. So for this particular machine, I start way back here with a wide shot. Then I come in, and then I basically follow the action around the table this way. When I get to here, I do a wide shot over here, and then I come around this way, and then I kind of run a little bit faster this way so that I can get the action here, but then I kind of switch and go back this way for this part, and then I go all the way over here, and then come back this way for the wheel at the end. So you can kind of see how to move around the table so that you can get the best possible angle for each part. Now I realize that this is basically only my situation. Almost every other builder has more than one table. But basically what I'm trying to say here is don't be afraid to move around the tables. So instead of filming everything from just a single vantage point, just move around the tables a little bit more. As much as you can, just so you can get the best angle of everything. So now you know what kind of shots there are and when to use each one, and you also know how and where to film in your machine. But what do you do after that? Well, here's lesson 3, the execution. I've gotten a couple comments in the past, in real life and in YouTube comments, about how smooth my machines look. And maybe you've noticed this too, but there's really no jerky camera movements when I'm filming my machines. And I know what you're wondering, how am I able to do that? Because doesn't walking around your machine just create natural hand movements? Well, yes, but not if you do it the way I do. The secret to this is unbelievably easy. Just bend your knees. Basically, all you have to do is, instead of walking around like this to film, just bend your knees and walk around like this. It might look a little silly, but this part usually isn't on camera. If you do this, your shots will come out a lot smoother every time. Believe it or not, this is the exact same technique that all professional cameramen use to create smooth handheld shots. Alright you guys, so now you know the 3 types of camera shots, only 2 of which you should use, and how to use each one of them. You also know how to plan out your machines so that you know which shots to use where, and how to move around your machines to get the best possible angles for each part. And you also know how to film your machines smoothly so that it looks really nice. And if you put all of this together, you should be able to film all of the parts of your machine in ways that you may not have thought were possible before. And hopefully this allows you to film your machines in one continuous shot. And finally, let me show you what it should look like when you put all of the lessons together. Take a look. Alright, so there it is. That's how I film my machines. If you want to see what the final shot actually looks like, go check out the final video. It's the Super Bowl 50 machine, and I've put a link in the description below. Now, I realize that my building area and the materials that I use and the amount of tables I have is very different than everyone else's, but I still hope that the tips that I shared with you guys, you can still apply them to your own situation. And remember, this video was completely in the name of trying to decrease the amount of machine videos that are screen linked, so hopefully these tips help decrease that in the future. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there are a lot of reasons why I don't like these screen-linked machine videos, but I didn't go into any of those reasons here. So if you are interested in hearing those reasons, again, check out Sick Trick Domino Dude's channel for an upcoming episode of DomiNews, and I'm going into a lot of greater detail over there in an upcoming episode. But until then, I hope this video was helpful to you guys. See ya.